agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Recognition of persons who request to be placed on the agenda.
I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Excuse me, Ronnie. I'd like to go back to that motion. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I had to speak up and or forever hold my peace. Ronnie, just give me a minute, please.
Of course.
I have a late entry into the game today for our position we need to fill by Mark Patterson's resignation on the 16th. And I have a candidate that gave me a letter of intent today, and everybody probably has it at their table, at their seat. I noted the date was the 29th to get it in by. He did not know anything about it. I posted it on Facebook the other day, and he saw it, and he asked me, like, what do you gotta do? I go, you just gotta give us a letter of intent and be a resident of the area. He's been here for 25 years, and he's like, I would be interested. This guy's a pretty decent human being. He's one of my clients with Medicare. I hate to say how old he is, but he's my age or more. And he's got a lot of experience. So we poured in a letter today. I'm looking to get an exception to have him interviewed today, even though it is after the 29th. Because I read the 9110 policy, it doesn't say anything in there that you got 7 days to get your application in or your intent letter. So I'd like to bring him in because we only have one other candidate. And you know, this guy's got 40 years experience working for HUD, which he helped with a lot of buildings, and he would be a great asset when we're doing our capital campaign. And unfortunately, he might also be a great asset when it comes to doing our finances. He's got that kind of experience in him. So that's what I'd like to see if we could at least interview him tonight.
What is the policy on that, since we've already voted on the agenda?
You can go back and go back to that motion and redo that motion if there's a motion on the floor to add something to the agenda. We don't have a motion on the floor yet to do that.
I would like to make a motion, put it on the floor to add an agenda item to the agenda. Or to go back to that motion, sorry. It's just to go back, correct?
Get the actual motion, you don't have to go through that step.
Why don't we just do the actual motion?
So to go back to the actual motion.
We're gonna go back.
Thank you.
What is the actual motion that we're gonna go back?
It was, well, we have the approval of the agenda.
Correct. What is, how do you want, how does, the motion would be how to amend the agenda.
So where you have call for nominations, we would like to appoint Ray Dougherty as one of the candidates.
First, there has to be a motion.
That's my motion, correct?
Sure.
Thank you.
I have a motion.
We have a motion.
Motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Becoming a Pennsylvania school director is a serious commitment and responsibility. Our focus needs to be on our students, our schools, and our community. News of Mr. Patterson's resignation was announced publicly at the September regular meeting. Everyone learned of his resignation at that time. As in the past, the superintendent set the requirements and timeline.
Are we giving Mrs. Vendrick the attention that she has the floor?
I'll wait.
Once you start getting this.
Okay. Becoming a Pennsylvania school director is a serious commitment and responsibility. Our focus needs to be on our students, our schools, and our community. News of Mr. Patterson's resignation was announced publicly at the September regular meeting. Everyone learned of his resignation at that time. As in the past, the superintendent set the requirements and timeline dates for any qualified person to apply to fill this vacancy. These requirements and timeline dates were advertised to the public. As a responsible governing body of the Oxford Area School District, I believe we need to adhere to the process and timeline that has been laid out for filling this vacancy. I want to thank Mr. Doherty for his desire to serve on the board. However, I believe that he has not met the requirements for being considered for our current vacancy.
Just a couple of comments on your directive there. I agree, becoming a Pennsylvania school director is a serious commitment. You had suggested that everyone learned of the resignation at the September meeting, although it was just stated clearly by Mr. Blessington in his conversation with Ray Doherty that he was not aware and did not learn of the resignation at the time. So I feel like that is a false statement. In addition, the superintendent did set the timing for advertising, not for the policy which reads that the vacancy should be filled within 30 days in accordance with the Pennsylvania School Code of 1949. So in that statement, I believe that we are adhering to the process by allowing this potential interviewee to interview this evening, because it will still fulfill the requirement of Section 13 of the Pennsylvania School Code, 315 of the Pennsylvania School Code, which will allow us to fill the vacancy within 30 days. There is no detailed description within the bylaws of the board around the timing of advertising. And if we have applicants that are interested even this evening that are sitting in the audience, we should allow them to be considered for the position.
Everyone was made aware. When I say everyone, it was made public to whoever was listening, whoever was present, whoever paid attention to school board meetings. It was made public at that meeting. That was the first time it was made public. So
I just want to be clear that you're saying the word everyone, but it's very clear that that person who was who saw this post on Facebook or wherever they saw it was not aware. So
well,
I just wanna be
perhaps
very
not
clear
that
about
evening,
Okay.
but I have seen numerous social media posts by some of our politically connected board members. You know, people were spreading the word, and it was made public, not to mention that the procedure that Dr. Wood set up and the timeline followed precedent. This has happened before.
Agreed.
We have had vacancies, we have followed the same procedure to fill those vacancies. And I know at least one time where it was just one candidate that offered their application.
And that's okay, but
So
we have
that has
two.
happened.
So we have two that have offered their
And we
application.
have one that has followed procedures outlined by our precedent procedure that was set by the superintendent.
But not by our policy. Just to be clear, it is not set by our policy about advertising for that position. So they did respond to the advertisement, and that's wonderful. But we also had someone who also responded, but not to that advertisement.
We have, so if we look at policy, it is very broad, but we also have precedent of how things were handled in past times. We also, we need to follow the precedent that has been set out.
We need to follow the law.
Because
We need to follow the law.
we
So
are
I'm gonna read
following
you the
the
law.
law.
Pennsylvania statute title 24, PS Education 3:315,
Actually,
filling
Mrs.
of
Case,
vacancies.
Mrs. Case,
In
I
either
have
floor.
that can be put on the screen.
In case any vacancy shall occur in a board of school directors by reason of death, resignation, removal from the district, or otherwise such vacancy shall in a school district of the first class be filled for the unexpired term by the Court of Common Pleas of the county in which such school district is situated
Thank you.
from the qualified electors of the district. And in a school district of the second, third, or fourth classes, the remaining members of the Board of School Directors shall by a majority vote thereof fill such vacancy from the qualified electors. From the qualified electors, not from those that responded to an advertisement, shall fill such vacancy from the qualified electors of the district within 30 days thereafter. Thank you.
Excuse me, I would like to make a statement about the
You
fact,
will have a moment to make a statement.
not before you make a vote on whether or not you're going to accept this gentleman. And the statement is,
You're not part of
that
the board, ma'am, you're not part of the board.
the statement is
Ma'am.
that she
Not part
is
of the board.
misrepresenting.
Not a part of the board.
She
You're
is
not a part of the board.
misrepresenting information
You're not a part of the
because
board.
that was not posted on the website until the 22nd, not the 16th, and neither was the video. So please, at least be honest.
Posted on the 16th.
No, it's just whoever happened to be here knew.
Or followed.
Then don't say everybody, because that's not the inclusion of everybody.
Now, that is, you have been warned, you have been warned twice. One more time. Okay, are we clear?
Mary,
Okay, let the board do the business of the board.
do it honestly is all.
Casting aspersions on our duly elected board of supervisors, please.
Do we have other comments or concerns?
I have some concern about bypassing this. I do see it as bypassing our policy because our policy, as Mrs. Vendrick said, has precedent. Our policy is also what gives our superintendent governing guidelines, which he followed in the way that he executed that policy. That we would consider bypassing this, and we didn't consider bypassing or coming around with some way to keep our libraries open for 6 weeks while we implemented the new library policy, which that had direct effect on our students. It's just bothersome to me. I'm not finished. I'll start speaking when the microphone turns on. Also, I went back and did a little timeline digging for everyone on Facebook, because this is how people are learning information. So, on 9/16, is when, Mark Patterson resigned. On 9/17, Mrs. Lutz made a post prior to even our district getting one out. I believe she shared it to over 19 different local postings. On 9/19, we also posted it, and it was shared that we had a deadline of September 29th. On 9/19, Mr. Blessington made a post which was shared over 14 times, one of which our applicant at some point did interact with. I can't tell you on which date, because the way, when you just like something, it doesn't give a date. If you comment, you can see the date of when the person commented. They interacted with it at some point, a post that was made on 9/19. On 9/22, there was another post made by Mrs. Lutz that had 12 shares. So these shares are going out all over to every message board there is on Facebook. People were aware this was going on. And then again, 2 days ago, Mr. Blessington made his post, and that is when I found the applicant again to actually interact and comment with it a day ago, and we got the letter today. So I'm just sharing that social media timeline as sharing of information, that it has been widely spread through our community.
So, once again, I just want to go back to, you're saying everyone learned of this through posts. Again, just to go back to the comment that was made this evening, that this particular person was not aware of this, that doesn't qualify under the everyone learned of the resignation at that time, which was what was stated. So, and again, I wouldn't want to penalize someone for not being on social media and not allowing them to interview for this position. I think that's not appropriate.
I'm actually actively applying to go back to work after several years of staying home with my children. And if I miss a deadline for applications and that company pulls the position off the website because they've received the sufficient applications that they deem necessary, I can't go to them and be like, oh, but wait, what about mine? They're not gonna consider it. That's not how this works in applying for positions, and this is a job, it's a position.
Thankfully, we have a law that dictates that this needs to be filled, this vacancy, within 30 days and does not indicate the advertising requirements for the Pennsylvania state statutes. I still think legally, all should be given the opportunity to interview, even if this evening they were interested from the people that are here attending.
I'm thankful that we have a law too that states we have to fill the position within 30 days. We're currently at day 22 right now. We did advertise the position. We did have one applicant meet that position. My concern is not on the qualifications of the person who just submitted their application or their letter of interest today. My concern is the person who followed the rules, who met that deadline. I feel like in some ways we're penalizing that person now by extending it. And if we are extending it and opening this up to additional people today, then there are people who might have thought about applying for this position, and if they found out we allowed a late applicant, then they'd say, well, if I would have known you would have allowed a late applicant, maybe I would have put my name in too. So now we open this up, and I kicked around the idea. I got the email notice of this applicant after 3 p.m., so that was 4 hours ago. You know, kicked around the idea, like what happens if we extend it another week, but now there's a very real danger that we're not going to meet that 30-day deadline if we extend it to other people now to open it up after we allow one other person to do it tonight. So that's my concern. It's a major concern because now I feel like, again, we've set precedent. We're not following our own rules.
So we did advertise, and I actually believe again that opening this up and allowing people to interview for the position is one thing. Everyone on the board has a vote. They don't have to vote them in, but we would allow anyone in the district who's interested in this position to run. Up until the 30-day or until we vote on this.
Right, I hear you and I understand, but my concern is too that there are people who think this deadline has come and passed, and they think, okay, I didn't put my name in, I didn't know anybody else was putting their name in, now I found out we just allowed somebody else to put their name in the hat today. I didn't know anything about this. They're gonna wake up tomorrow and say, what? You allowed it to open up to other people? How come I didn't know about this? You know, it doesn't seem right to other people too.
I think we just need to follow the law.
That's the advertising part. Yeah. Mr. Atkinson. Are there any other questions, concerns?
Yeah, my concern with this, and I get the following the law, and it was advertised, but, I mean, it was advertised on the 22nd, and 7 days later, you had to get your application in. It was advertised in a newspaper, which nobody reads anymore, and it was advertised in our website, which I can tell you most of our constituents don't look at that either. I put it out on Facebook, and I got it out there, and the guy contacted me. He's an excellent candidate. I think we should at least hear what he has to say and interview him. Otherwise, we could go through all this, and we could equally just say, you know what? What if we just don't like this one applicant? What do we do then? Are we bound to? Do we have to accept one applicant and one applicant only, or could we have an interview and say, yeah, she's really nice, very great, but I don't know if she's the best person for this job. So we still have another week to interview people, and then we can start this whole interview thing all over again. So I mean, that's what I'm getting at with this. We can make an exception. There's exceptions made all the time in all businesses. And businesses, a lot of times, will put an advertisement out there to hire an employee. And they might, you know, my problem with the 9 days, the 7 days, was it seems 7 days is arbitrary. Should have been given at least 2 weeks. The guy resigns on the 16th, we get the letter and the stuff out there on the 22nd, and on the 29th, don't anybody talk to us anymore, we're done. When the position doesn't have to be, and it says shall, be filled by the 16th of October. And that was another question I had. So is it the 30 days from the time he resigns, or the 30 days from the time we advertise that we need somebody? So this guy comes in here today, I don't think it's that big of a stretch to interview him. And if he's not a great candidate, then we're done. We interviewed 2 people, we took it. I don't think this exception would be extraordinary in any way, shape, or form. I think that we should be able to interview more than one person. And, you know, I know it says shall, but shall doesn't mean have to. It may in some people's mind, but it is, as far as I'm concerned, it's past parcel of should. And, you know, if we don't get it done, what's the big deal? What happens next? And we've got one board member who's not here, which kind of screws things up because now it's an uneven vote. I mean, the past that I've seen, it seems like everybody seems to go lockstep with whatever Ms. Warren wants to get done, and I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair to put a time limit of 7 days to get your letter of intent in when the position doesn't have to be filled for 30 days. I think you should have right up to they finally hire somebody. And most jobs, and you know, I've been in and out of business for a long time, most jobs, all of a sudden, guy walks through the door like, where did this guy come from? Oh yeah, I know we stopped taking applications yesterday, but this guy's pretty good. So you know what? We're gonna hire this guy. Holy cow, did we almost scooted the pooch on that one. You know, it happens all the time in business. Been around it, seen it. So I think that we should make an exception, let the guy be heard, interview him. You got a chair up there, just put a second chair. Interview him. You know, the last few times we've interviewed people, I didn't say anything. But I feel 7 days is too short of a window to get that letter of intent.
I'd just like to correct that from September 19th to September 29th is 10 days.
And, Mr. Blessington, we are not a business. We are right
Well,
to
you
the
brought up the
government.
business part. That's the only reason I brought it up.
Right.
Exceptions are made all the time.
You know, we're part of the government. We have to do things in a legal way, and following precedent is part of that legal way. And I just want to mention that the candidate that did submit her letter of intent and resume within the allotted time put a lot of thought into this. You know, it's very detailed and gives us a lot of information. So it is very possible to do this within 7 days. We are a governing body. We need to follow regulations.
So I believe that we, again, just to clearly state it, we are still following regulations by meeting the law of having nominations and calling a vote within 30 days to appoint a new board member. My motion that was on the floor was that we would amend the agenda to appoint another candidate, Ray Doherty, as a nominee for interviewing this evening. The other thing that we could do, if that is not approved, is we could motion to table this vote till next week, allowing whatever candidates, to Mr. Atkinson's point, the opportunity to apply and still meet the requirement of filling this position within 30 days, according to state law. So I would be okay with that as well. Thank you.
Just more can we change the verb appoint to maybe add?
Sure,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, that.
Thank you.
I just would say I'm not really that concerned with the forensics or chronological observations on everything everyone's saying. This gentleman shows interest, and I appreciate anyone who shows interest in the position, got it in before tonight's meeting, was able to communicate it to the board. Therefore, I think we should just move forward with a vote and accept this. And I think after that, I think a learning from this is probably just tighten up the policy a little bit as well.
Anyone else?
Just want to say again, my concern is by allowing a person to submit their application in today without allowing other people who didn't know that they could do that, I just don't think it's right, so.
Okay, so I have a question for Dr. Woods. Well, actually, first I have a statement. So it says that we're going to accept all qualified candidates. And I'm just going to, and again, this maybe speaks to Mr. Atkinson's point that we need to tighten up the policy. Qualified applicants are what qualifies them is that they have followed the procedure and they have gotten the application in what is requested, and in this case, what was requested was a letter of intent and a resume. We have a letter of intent from Mr. Doherty. We do not have a resume. What was requested was a time period by the end of day, by 4 o'clock on the 29th. We have an applicant who made that effort, got it in on time. We have someone who has given us part of what is needed in a very sketchy way at the 5 hours. And I got it almost right away, 5 hours before the meeting. And some people didn't get it right away. I'm not done. So when I read the word qualified, that's one of the things that I take to be a qualification. There are others, there are legal qualifications as well, but that to me speaks to what makes someone qualified. But again, maybe that means we need to tighten up the policy. What I do know is that when applicants are submitted, there is a verification process that goes through to make sure they are qualified. Are they of the right age? Do they reside at the residence that they state they reside in? How long have they resided in that residence? Are they in the correct area? This time it doesn't really matter because Mr. Patterson was at large, but sometimes we have different regions. So I would like to ask Dr. Woods to speak to what happens to make sure that someone is qualified, and did that happen for Mr. Doherty's application?
Yeah, we verified residency today. We do that through the tax rolls.
Yeah, I'm not done. The other thing that I have is, I spoke to the solicitor. Always get to speak to the solicitor. It's been a while. I talked with him this afternoon, and he said, we have a policy which establishes a process. We followed that process. The policy is not firm because each instance will be different. Each time someone resigns or leaves the board, it will be different. Sometimes there will be more time, like when Mrs. Bell left, I think, Miss Bell left, I think she gave us several weeks before she actually was done. Mr. Patterson walked out right before a meeting started. He gave us absolutely no warning. So that will be different. That will start our process thinking different. Anyway, we follow the process that was established. There is no statute that says we can't disregard our policy or process. But he cautioned us to think about why we would want to disregard our policy and process.
Excuse me,
And
Ms. Warren, you're adding commentary to this. Can you read verbatim what he wrote to you? I'm getting this
I'm sorry, we talked on the phone.
Oh, okay.
Because it was, again, I got this 5 hours before
Understood.
so this is pretty much verbatim. These were the notes that I took when he, yeah. So there's no statute, in a nutshell, there's no statute that says we cannot. He cautioned us to think about why we would want to disregard our policy and process that we have put into place. and, that there is precedent. And, I was going to read the policy, but the policy's pretty much been read. I was going to read that. That is up there, and Mrs. Kay's read most of it. I would like clarification, just because it's confusing, and I was only gonna read the highlighted part, because we are not a class 1 school district, so, we are, what? One of the other ones? 2 through 4. We're another class of, and I didn't know if Mr. Blessington wanted answers to any of his questions. You asked some questions, like when does the 30-day clock start and that type of thing. I don't know if you truly cared to know the answers to those questions, or you were just speaking.
Yeah, I'd like answers to all of them. And
So
again,
to the 30-day clock, that started the moment Mr. Patterson.
but why do we only have from the 22nd to the 29th to get our letter of intent in? If we got 30 days, we still
don't.
got plenty of room to move.
So again, Mrs. Lutz was out there letting people know ahead of time. I was
Not
gonna
her
ask you,
job.
I was gonna ask, of course it's not her job. I was gonna ask you if you thought that this gentleman was very qualified. Did you let him know about this position early on?
No, I didn't think he'd be
So-
interested.
Well,
He contacted me
just,
and said, hey, what do you gotta do to get on this thing?
okay, but
Bring in
I'm
a
just,
letter.
we all
show
as
up.
a board, we
I don't
all-
see what the big deal is. Why can't you just do it? It's not that big of a
We're
deal.
gonna vote. Dr. Woods, would you like to weigh in on this?
Dr. Woods, earlier my conversation was, hey, you never know, that's up to you guys at the board to vote on.
It is up
We
to.
can say, yeah, without killing anybody. I'm paraphrasing.
Appreciate that, but, was asked a question, look, I can't ever recommend to the board that you deviate from your own procedures. These procedures have been our past practice when we had board vacancies. We have an applicant that has come in after the deadline, so I'm here, all of you. You're asking for my recommendation. I can't give you that recommendation. But to your point, Mr. Blessington, and we have a motion on the floor, that will be up to the board. And I think that paraphrases what the solicitor says as well. Be cautious of when you deviate from your procedures.
And before we take a vote, and I know you said it was not a conflict, but just because we had said he was a client,
Yep.
just to make sure that there's
Right.
no conflict of interest in terms of abstaining from a vote or whether you should not abstain from a vote.
I mean, I helped the guy fought with Medicare 8 years ago. I'm semi-retired from my position. I'm what they call emeritus. I did not make any money from this guy. I did not seek him out. He contacted me. And then when he told me about, I talked to the guy 8 years ago. And he told me, hey, I used to work for HUD. I'm like, son of a gun.
Mr. Atkinson, there's no conflict. based
Okay,
on-
so,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. That's
I
right.
appreciate you
That's-
straightening it
that's
out.
what I
This
did.
Bill did bring it up, and
Yeah,
I
just wanted to
gotta
make
know.
sure.
Based on what was said, I don't see.
Sounds good, okay, thanks.
We're good, yeah.
I just wanted to make another comment now that Mrs. Woods is, Mrs. Warren is finished. Sorry. We can't disregard our policy and process is what was stated. I just want to be clear again, I did not read the policy, but I will because I think that's probably a good idea. The policy states 9110, bylaws of the board vacancies, new director selection. In accordance with
I
section,
believe we have this to be posted as well.
in accordance with section 315 of the Pennsylvania Public School Code of 1949 amended, any vacancy which should occur as a result of the death, resignation, or removal of a school director shall be filled within 30 days. The following procedures shall be followed in filling such a vacancy. So it's very clear what the procedures are. The procedures are A, the vacant seat will be advertised. There is nothing stated in here about timing or timing of acceptance. B, all qualified candidates will be interviewed by the full board in a public meeting. And C, the vacancy shall be filled by a majority vote of those directors remaining. I just want to be very clear that we are not violating our policy by allowing another candidate to interview this evening. Thank you. And my motion still stands.
Except for the word qualified, that Mrs. Warren was talking about.
Yep, so I did write that as well. So qualified comes from the Pennsylvania state law. Again, and we can read that, if you can bring that up as well. I don't know who's directing that.
We're good.
But it talks
We're
about
just gonna vote
qualified
this
electors. So, and you're right, qualified electors would be the people who live in a district who are qualified to run for this position. It doesn't say, again, anything about being qualified by responding to an advertisement. Thank you.
Correct, but what is in our policy is not electors, it's qualified candidates. So what makes them a qualified candidate? They have to meet all the legal requirements to be a qualified elector, but we have a definition of what makes them a qualified candidate. And to Mr. Atkinson's point, that does need to be tightened up.
Yes, thank you.
Because prior to this moment, when people were up in arms about this, qualified candidate meant that they met every stipulation of the law and that we set out for them as the board. And we set out that the deadline
Where's that written?
was, I'm telling you, that's how I interpret it.
Oh, it's an interpretation. I just want to be clear, thank you. So
Right,
it's
and
an
that is how it
interpretation.
is, and that has how it is.
So it is not written, and I just want to
Yes,
be clear,
no,
we're
Mrs.
following what is written by those laws and the
Correct.
policy.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So there is precedent, though, and this is the fourth one that I've been a part of, and this is how it's always been done.
Okay,
In the 4 times that I've been, I can't speak to prior to that.
and that's.
All right,
that's
so
perfect.
now we have a motion that's on the floor, and
There was
Yep.
one thing, we're getting, for those who are getting caught up in the semantics of qualified, there's still an interview process.
Yep.
If you feel the candidate wasn't prepared, and that continues through the interview process, then you make your vote accordingly. I just ask you right now, when you vote, don't vote as if you are voting yes or no on this candidate and whether or not they're in the position. You haven't allowed them to interview yet. Don't start making decisions based off of ambiguity and what opinions are on a loose policy. That's all I ask.
I just have to say, and the process, that's what we're voting on, is what's happening here.
I'm not voting on a process, I'm voting on having a late candidate who got in before the
And we
agenda.
need to
So
keep in mind.
that's not what I'm voting, I just wanna say,
Every nodding, what
I'm not voting on that. I'm
Okay.
voting on what the motion is. So I just don't, that's all I,
okay. I have tightened up the motion. If it is not to your liking, you can let me know, but I'm going to read it as I've written it. Be it resolved that the Oxford Area School District Board of School Directors hereby approves allowing Ray Doherty to be interviewed at tonight's special meeting to fill the vacant board seat. We have a motion for that, is that correct?
Yes.
And we have a second.
Yes.
Mr. Cooney, can I have a roll call vote on this, please?
Certainly. Mr. Atkinson,
No.
Mr. Blessington.
Yes.
Ms. Dean absent. Ms. DeWeese,
No.
Ms. Kays,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
yes.
Ms. Vendrick,
No.
Ms. Warren.
No.
Motion does not carry.
And I would like to make another motion, and that would be to table the vote till 10:14, allowing for additional applicants to provide them time to send in their letters of intent or their resumes, and to table this interview process and vote till next week's meeting, which would still be within the 30 days, on 10/14, since we were notified of the resignation on 9/16, that would still give us 2 days following the vote to implement it, although I guess it would be implemented that evening, so. That's a motion on the table.
I'll second it.
We have a motion on the table and a second.
Do we need a certain amount of people to be here next Tuesday for that vote, to have that vote happen, or is it just who's ever showing up that day?
I believe we have a quorum every meeting, is that correct? We have to have quorum at each meeting.
If we are extending that window of time, what advertising requirements are there to doing that? And do we have the time to do that?
Typically, it takes 3 days, I believe, to get it into the paper. We also would have to advertise the meeting.
I'm just gonna try and speak some riddles into all you here, and I'm leaving here in a month. You're playing a game here where you're all gonna get someone on the board who you don't want because the court's gonna appoint them. I don't know why we're so caught up in not just letting someone else interview. You're making this into something much bigger than it is. There wasn't even something in writing of your conversation with the solicitor. There wasn't even a strong warning, anything that we could do. Like, I understand what you mean, but that's your opinion on there could be other people. Frankly, if other people came forward and late, then fine. I would have allowed them as well. But this gentleman did it, and here we are. But just be careful what's gonna happen. Just letting you know. Everyone is trying to vote for their sides. And you're both gonna come out losing on this one.
So my concern with putting it off until next week, and so we put it off until the 14th, which was initially discussed when we were setting out the process for people to apply. We could hold the vote on the 14th. But if we get to a point on the 14th where we have 8 people here, it's 4 to 4, we can't make a decision, nobody gets voted onto the board, then we are in the position that Mr. Kloss alluded to, where we do not have time at that point. We do not have time to even advertise for another meeting to be held, for new candidates to be gotten. And so therefore, it does have potential to move out of this board's hands and go to the Court of Common Pleas for them to appoint somebody to the court. And I don't know how about you guys feel, to the board. I don't know how you guys feel, but this is our community, and I do believe that the people in our community should have a say over who gets to be on the board. So that is why initially the timeline, those days were moved back to have this special meeting, so that if something happened at this special meeting where there couldn't be a decision that was made, we had wiggle room. Pushing it off to next week allows us no wiggle room.
So I'm requesting that wiggle room. That was my motion. That we use that wiggle room that you allocated by having this particular evening be the evening.
All right, the problem I have is we've got 4 Democrats that voted against this thing and 3 Republicans that say, let's look at it. And 1 that didn't show up. And this happens all the time. And one of the questions is not to be partisan, to be nonpartisan. Well, this is 100% a partisan vote. Every time there's any question about anything, I always get the same 4 people that vehemently agree on what should be done. And in the meantime, the other ones, the Republicans, bicker back and forth a little bit and bring some common sense to this question, like Mr. Kloss is right now. It's like, well, you know what? Would it really hurt to interview the guy? And that's a pretty common sense response to this. It really wouldn't hurt. We did the same thing with the FID when we didn't want that FID, and Bill made a great point. Like, I don't know, that's a slippery slope. The next thing you know, all right, we're only gonna let 5 of these floating instructional days in, and before you know it, we got half the school year being done that way. It's a slippery slope. The kids want to have a snow day, they should be able to act like kids and go out sledding. I'm just saying, it always seems to go down to partisan vote. And this is one of the questions in here is to keep this nonpartisan. I say if we interview this guy, then we can at least show a little semblance of nonpartisan. Because it's always the same four that always vote the same exact way and never seem to have any discussion. So I got a problem with that. So I say table it. If we're not gonna let the guy interview, I vote to table it. Again, you can vote 4-3 against me. But I think a little common sense, and I think Mr. Claus brought up a great point of common sense here. And maybe we're gonna fight enough that we're gonna let the courts decide who takes that job?
You're right, I'm not planning on letting it get to the courts. But
Right.
what are we telling the person who did?
Who cares? I mean, you guys really have no, you don't care about
We're
anybody's.
telling the person who applied that, who cares? That they followed
They
the
applied
requirements.
good.
They applied, they met the requirements.
And we got another one.
But who cares?
Well, we got another one. We've got another, I don't like the fact that it's a single person applying. And I don't like the fact that it seems to be falling on a partisan line and a partisan debate. We can make exceptions all the time. It's not that big of a deal. We're not breaking laws here. You know, the guy showed up today, contacted me this morning, and I got the letter of intent in here.
I would prefer to have more than one candidate too, but the thing is, we only had one candidate that applied.
Okay.
And met the deadline.
Right. And I
Okay,
can't
so
help but
that's what I'm
understand
looking
that
at.
your opinion hinges on the same as the other three. You're not being independent here.
I'd like to think I am.
I don't think you are.
I don't mind.
No, this is just my way of passing notes.
Yeah, I think, again, we're talking about whether or not an applicant responded to an advertisement, which is not written down anywhere. There's no, we read through both the policy that we follow and the legal statute, 315 of the Pennsylvania Public School Code. So we're not going against any law, and nothing is written down about the advertisement. So, and as Jennifer Warren explained, it was initially discussed when they set out to potentially even hold this meeting tonight on the 14th. So that tells you that there is some wiggle room, as she said, in the policy, in the procedure. Sorry, not the policy, in the procedure. So I think we should allow the other candidates, if there are any, to apply, table the motion tonight, motion to table the vote tonight until next week to allow for whatever candidates want to apply. Maybe we'll have a great outpouring of candidates after tonight's meeting, and we'll get 6 or 8 or 10 of them to look at next week. That would be amazing, right? I think that would probably serve the district better, that we have, we're able to pick the best of who is available in this district for this position. So I still would like, and I think there's a second on the motion. The motion was to table the vote tonight and the interview process till 10/14, allowing other applicants to apply for this position, still allowing us to meet the state statute of filling this position within 30 days of the resignation or notification of resignation.
Any other comments?
Excuse it. Appreciate what you're doing. And I'm with you, but I can't let it go that short. There's so many things that could happen with that timeline that this thing could go right to the ground.
I was just trying to find another possibility, taking into account Mr. Atkinson's comment. It was a good comment.
I get it.
So I was just trying to find another avenue. If we don't move forward with allowing this applicant to interview this evening, then open it back up. We still have the 30 days. We can make a decision next week on one of the, who knows how many candidates we'll have. And
What are your options here? Well, I do feel like you're a voice of reason.
I've already tried to be a voice of reason. It's not happening.
Yeah.
We've made this into a complete hootenanny, so, I tried.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if I can, I was gonna put another motion back on, my own motion to try and, add this gentleman into the, interview. I don't know if I can, because that's a very similar motion.
So you can, you have a motion on the floor right now which needs to be acted on unless the person that
can
requesting
retract.
the motion to retract that.
I can retract my motion to allow you to do your motion, and then if it doesn't go through, I will put it back on. So I will retract.
Thank you. I'm adding a motion to, add, this gentleman, I apologize for not knowing the name, but add this gentleman back on. Right, add Mr. Dockerty back onto the, add Mr. Dockerty to the agenda, to be interviewed.
I second.
along with it.
Any more discussion on that? Mr. Cooney?
So I have a motion by Mr. Claus, seconded by Ms. Warren. Ms. Deweese?
I still have to say no, I'm sorry.
Ms. Dean absent. Mr. Blessington?
Yes.
Ms. Kays?
Yes.
Ms. Vendrick?
No.
Mr. Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Atkinson?
I know.
Ms. Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, where were we? I believe we were at public comment.
Can I just ask for my note taking where, what line item this became?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
It's
It's not-
when I review this tomorrow.
Thank you, I was just,
Okay. Lots of good work.
Good evening. Oh, okay, sorry. Good evening, Ronnie Lutz, East Nottingham Township. Some of the things that I was gonna bring up, which part of it was reading the policy, and how it was that Jennifer Warren and David Woods became the arbitrators and authority over the interpretation of the policy, which is incredibly vague. One thing in the policy, in listening to Mrs. Kays read it, though I've read it many times, is number C in the policy says the vacancy shall be filled by a majority vote of those directors remaining. Well, that is not the situation this evening because Mrs. Dean didn't show up, which seems to be a pattern when there's a divisive vote from the board. So that's one thing. The other thing is, which has been gone over ad nauseum, is that there is no timeline on the advertising. But outside of that, there is absolutely not one line in this policy about the application process. Yet you are all standing here on process, but there's nothing about process. The other thing that I noted that was quite interesting is Ms. Vendrick kept saying precedent. And I was like, I wonder how many times that happened. And then, isn't it unusual that Mrs. Warren says it happened 4 times while she's been on the board in her 8 years. I find that very interesting. I'd also, and the other thing is about the delaying. It was delayed. I did post on the 17th, and what I posted was that there was a vacancy, Mark resigned, and that there would be applications and the announcement available on the website, which never happened. And I can guarantee that I watched that website multiple times a day, every day, and the 22nd was the first time that it showed up because I posted it that day. So just to clarify timelines here. The other thing that I would like to say, the last thing I would like to say about the policy, this policy was adopted in 1998. It's been readopted multiple times, but the last time that this policy was revised was in 2004, 21 years ago. How is it that this policy was left so loose and vague. This policy is beyond inadequate. This whole meeting has just been unbelievable. But what it has clarified is the inability of David Woods, intentional or not, to fulfill one of a superintendent's most critical responsibilities, and that is leading policy and keeping policy current, board members informed, and the policies clear and updated. Moving on, I wanted to comment on the candidate that you have brought forth, because you brought this person forth. And on September 6th, this candidate, Kristen Stephen, posted, "I know exactly where my grace for wait and see has reached its end. Any hope I had in GOP is long gone. Any patience I had for anyone who supports what this president is doing is over. I'm done, I'm disgusted and worried, but above all, I'm heartbroken. And on behalf of this country I love, I'm very, very angry." On November 6th of 2020, she posted, "When democracy wins, it will be again on the backs and legwork and determination of Black women. White folks, let's rise up and refuse to sit down in our complicit comforts and pretense of safety. Our liberation is bound together. We have felt this unsafe for 4 years. This isn't a new feeling for most Black, Indigenous, people of color. We owe it to our younger generations to become better ancestors." This person is 100%
Time's up.
DEI in SEO and would have no intention, as some of these board members, to uphold the executive order on indoctrination.
Your time is up and you've already been warned. Please sit down.
First time here. Peter Thompson, East Nottingham Township. I actually have a daughter in the school in Finch, so it's just, I'm a little nervous, I apologize. So I took time to write this letter today, kind of voice my concerns and some feelings I have and who I think we should look at. Hello, thank you for taking time to speak with me today. I want to share my support and ask that you consider Christina Steffens for the board. I've read her last writing and most of her most recent post writing resonate with me. Personally, I believe politics should stay out of our schools and our classrooms so our educators can focus on providing a strong, inclusive, and learning environment for all of our children. Christina's comments that I read reflected the same belief. I especially appreciate when she said, if teachers could accomplish that, they would focus on math and reading. That sentiment reflects a clear understanding of real priorities in education. I also value her emphasis on the critical role parents play in reinforcing education at home. As she put it, no matter how much education is taught at the schools, if it's not important at home, not reinforced at home, aided at home, that child will struggle. She also stated, make sure your child has a sense of self, security, and love is felt first and best at home. Those words should capture every parent is what we should strive for. As a parent of a young daughter, my wife and I take this to heart. We actively support our daughter's education, whether through a tutor, exposing her to STEM projects, family trips to NASA, our most recent trip to the Battleship, New Jersey, at home building computers, launching kit rockets, building robots, even introducing her to crypto and cryptocurrency trade, which is what I like to do too. When I hear someone like Christina speak about empowering teachers and reinforcing learning at home, I feel she knows and understands what that truly means. Let's move Oxford forward and make it the educational envy of Pennsylvania. Let's elect Christina Steffens to the board. To borrow a quote from a galaxy far, far away, I believe she could bring a balance to the force. Put some humor in here. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good evening. I stand here as someone who was willing to serve on this board, driven by a concern for our students' education in Oxford and a belief that diverse voices strengthen our schools. I plan to reapply and interview, but after deep reflection, I chose not to apply. Tonight I'll explain why, hoping to spark honest dialogue about creating a board where all perspectives are truly welcome. I first considered applying again because I saw another chance to tackle real challenges in OASD, budget issues, curriculum debates, and student success. But as I watched this board in action, a troubling pattern emerged, a clear preference for advancing a specific progressive ideology over open collaboration. This board has sidelined a significant portion of our Oxford community, conservative parents, students, teachers, and taxpayers, who hold traditional views on family, fiscal discipline, or academic standards. Their voices are marginalized, making them feel they don't belong. When topics like DEI, SEL, or CRT are brought up, alternate perspectives are dismissed, ensuring only one ideological viewpoint thrives. This isn't unity, it's exclusion, dressed up as progress, where conformity trumps community input. Let me speak directly to SEL, which this board has pushed despite evidence of its limited effectiveness. Sold as tools for student well-being, these programs have drained taxpayer resources with minimal academic gains, funneling funds to emotions over reading and math, often embedding progressive values on identity and equity. Reviews from RAND and What Works Clearinghouse show SEL barely improves test scores or behavior. Our kids get trauma-informed activities laced with ideology while core skills lag. It's time to redirect those dollars to proven, neutral teaching methods. This exclusionary dynamic shows most clearly at this table where the board's commitment to its ideology fosters visible contempt toward dissent. Conservative board members face eye rolls, sighs, or looks of disgust when they propose common sense ideas. I've seen it in our meetings and during public comment where conservative speakers are barely tolerated. These signals tell our community conform or stay out. Many qualified individuals won't apply, deterred by this hostile atmosphere, all to protect a narrow echo chamber. The impact goes beyond this room as the board's gatekeeping extends to reputational attacks that silence opposition. I was lied about by someone in this room and her friend and online, so I know firsthand. Applicants face targeting from board allies online with words twisted to defend prevailing ideology. I've seen qualified people grilled not on merits, but on whether their beliefs align with the board's leanings, their character dragged through the comment sections. It's divisive and it works. Good people walk away, leaving OASD without diverse input. And let's not ignore DEI and CRT. These cornerstones of the board's ideologies have sparked legal scrutiny and backlash right here in Pennsylvania. Pushed as unquestioned truth, they risk violating educational neutrality, leading to complaints under state civil rights laws and federal investigations, as in recent PA school cases. They divide our classrooms by prioritizing indoctrination over balanced learning. Our schools must teach critical thinking, not compelled ideology that excludes half the community. To this board, I urge, reflect on this pattern of ideological favoritism, welcome conservative perspectives as equals, not threats.
1 minute, Ms. Scroll.
Debate ideas without disdain. Make this place for all our Oxford community, not just a select few. Our kids deserve better, a board focused on education, not exclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boyd?
Was president of this board several years ago for 7 years. I'd like to start off by telling Mr. Kloss, thank you for being the voice of reason. Not the first time, and you will be missed going in the future. Education is no place for politics. And why you would ignore the voice of the people by replacing a Republican with a Democrat once again. Once again, transparency is important. This was done when Miss Bell resigned and the board ignored the voice of the people. Policy does state 30 days from the announcement. Applications were not released according to school code timeline. You once again have predetermined who the Democrats want to replace a Republican board member. Politics do not belong in education. Also, attempting to silence sitting board members is unacceptable. The superintendent does act at the discretion of the board and does not roll the board. Mrs. Lutz and Mr. Blessington used a public format like your cronies with Oxford Concerned Parents or whatever that ridiculous organization is. Mr. Atkinson, your concern is that your predetermined candidate could possibly not make it. So 30 days has not yet been met. And an additional statement that Mrs. Vendrick made, how foolish of a statement to say that a school district is not a business. Ma'am, quite in fact, it is a business, and you're dealing constantly with the constituents or the taxpayers' money. And you're to do that and do it in a responsible business manner. What a ridiculous statement to make. I, again, give you accolades for postponing this, giving the gentleman an opportunity. I'm quite confident, don't know the man, but I'm sure he would be a qualified candidate, and he certainly deserves the consideration of the board. And incidentally, it is very ironic, very interesting that every time there is a critical vote to possibly take place, that we happen to have an empty chair, giving the Democrats the majority vote as we experienced here tonight. Thank you.
Together and considered. Otherwise, this becomes a free-for-all. Well, Mr. Blessington, member of the board over here, says that this is a nonpartisan issue and shouts and bangs his chest about how not partisan this is. He has posted on Facebook within the last 12 hours, Democrats are anti-American. He's posted that Democrats are evil. Division comes entirely from the left. Democrats have shut down the government because they hate Trump, and Democrats incite violence. So when you sit here and you are a member that
I said there is wrong. Is anything wrong there?
All of it.
Is any of that not true?
All of it is wrong.
Charlie Kirk is dead today.
All of it is wrong.
Mrs. Kavanaugh.
And I have the right.
Mrs. Kavanaugh, please address me. Okay.
I have the right to put forth to the public and to everyone in this room what the loudest shouter of nonpartisanship has posted publicly on his own Facebook page. It is clear to me that the divide between Democrat and Republican is going to be very hard to overcome here. And what is lost in this entire discussion and this entire evening is the kids. I have a senior in high school that goes to this school, that she's got an exemplary education, and that I see you guys struggling with the challenges every day that all of our students face. The ones in school, the ones in charter school, the ones getting bused here to provide the right facilities, and you are making the calls as best you can. Yeah, policies can be updated. We could have a whole policy subcommittee that does that all the time. And some of our subcommittees have no problem holding libraries closed so that children can't access books because they can't seem to come to the conclusion that if you don't want a child to read a book, don't let them check it out of the library. But why would you extend that to every other child within the school? Creating more work for our teachers and for our librarians. So when we cry here about partisanship, I guarantee you if it was the other way around and the board was slanted 4-3 and Republicans, there would be no additional hearing, there'd be no grace for anybody else. And so I say just do what has been done before in the past, according to policy, combined with precedent. Otherwise, if you don't, I'm positive that this will come out all over Facebook, again, thanks to those that serve on the board and those in this room that consider themselves digital creators, and it will not paint anyone in a good light. So try to just stay above the fray, keep doing the work that you're doing, keep doing what you're doing, make decisions in the best interest of our kids. I support most of you 100% and not those that call for violence. Thanks.
Well said.
Okay, we are now at the point of the agenda where we will begin the school board candidate interviews. I would like to thank you for submitting your letter of intent and your resume. Thank you for taking an interest in being part of this board. My first question for you is why you're interested in serving on our board.
So as I stated in my letter, I live in this community. I've lived here for 20 years and I intend to continue living here. And so the school district is part of a positive community. It's part of the success of the community.
We can't hear.
Yeah, I think it needs to
Just
be.
pull it a little closer. It's on.
Is this better?
That's better.
Okay. So I'm just stating that as a community member, I've been here a while, I intend to stay here. A successful community is a place I'd like to be. I'd like to be somewhere where people want to be, where people want to have their children in the district. Education's always been a part of my life that's been important. Growing up as a child with a family of educators, married to a school principal, homeschooled and had my kids in the Oxford district. It's just part of the community in which I live, so I'm interested.
Are there any follow-up questions? Okay. The second question is, what do you believe is the primary role of a school board member, and how would you ensure your decisions are guided by the best interests of all students?
So what I've learned coming to meetings is that it is very important for, obviously, the laws to be followed, but for policy to be written. And so that is essentially the major thing, is that writing a policy and doing so in a manner that follows the state and the district guidelines.
What do you see as the greatest challenges facing public education today? And how about more specifically for Oxford?
I think that Oxford is facing what we're seeing across the country everywhere, which is divisiveness. I see it as something that is holding up policy for children when people are putting politics into an equation where it isn't required. Everyone is entitled to have their own political opinions. But I think that I have seen in the time that I have been coming to board meetings where that politics is interfering in a way that is hindering what is best for the kids in the community, and that is of concern to me, as well as I think a continuing and growing problem.
Are there any follow-up questions? Okay. School boards are intended to be nonpartisan. How would you work to maintain a nonpartisan collaborative approach when making decisions on curriculum, policy, or student support services?
As a board member, my focus would be on what is in the best interest of the kids according to the laws that we have in the state, in the district. I am going to state, because I've been hearing whispers back here, sitting, listening, when it comes to partisan. I am not actually a Democrat, contrary to popular belief. You can check my records. I have never, ever been a registered Democrat. So I was a registered Republican until very recently, and am now undeclared. I have an ability to see more than one side of a situation. I know how to ask questions. I know how to listen. And since my belief is that politics doesn't have a place on the school board, despite Pennsylvania requiring you to run as something or another, I find that inappropriate, so I don't believe that would actually be a problem for me.
Okay, are there any follow-up questions? Okay. What qualities, skills, and experience would you bring to the board?
So, as I stated, I am actually good at listening and I do ask good questions. And again, I have the ability to see things from multiple angles. I have critical thinking skills, courtesy of my sociologist father. And I have always had an interest in children. I used to run a daycare. I've worked at a summer camp. I have recently been on the board of The Point, which is a youth program in Parksburg, if you don't know what that is. And so I just have time, experience, an interest in education, you know, general knowledge gained living in this world, living in this town for 20 years and seeing how it is and having my own children be successful through the Oxford School District. So it's just that kind of experience. I have not been on a school board before, so I do not have that experience to bring.
Are there any follow-up questions from the board? And this is the final question. Is there anything else you want us to know about you that has not been covered in your materials or tonight's interview?
I have a question.
Sure.
You like to tell me?
Well,
Oh, I thought you were done, I'm sorry.
No.
I waited, go ahead. Mine's just a silly question anyway. I just wanna make sure you're a hometown type of girl, that's all. No disrespect to the person.
So the question, I'll restate the question. Is there anything else you want us to know about you that has not been covered in your materials or tonight's interview?
I think that I have pretty much stated who I am and where I stand. It was in the letter. I pretty much reiterated all of that. So I think what you see is what you're going to get, and that's it. To Mr. Blessington, you're going to have to be a little more specific as to what a hometown girl means.
Like a Phillies fan, Eagles fan, 4 teams, there's Phillies, Sixers. Please don't tell me you're a Dallas fan. Please, just do that. Because there is somebody in here, that is a Dallas fan, and I overlooked that point.
Not that it has any bearing on any.
It has, doesn't.
To be on the school
Maybe
board,
it's a little ugly,
I
that's all.
don't follow sports.
You don't follow sports? You don't have to.
Can I ask you a question? I'll apply as a scene to the other candidate, but if you could remember my question.
Yep.
If you get elected to the board, what would you do, or what are some of your thinkings of how you would immerse yourself to kind of learn not only kind of functioning board, but the district, what some of the current opportunities are and so forth, how would you immerse yourself?
So my understanding is that there are trainings that are available to elected board members. I'm hoping those are also available to me to learn the ropes. Other than that, I guess being quiet and listening and learning the ropes as I go.
Thank you.
Anybody? Thank you for your time this evening. I don't I think so, just lean. Yeah. So just like, Stephens, Stevens, thank you, I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure that I thanked you for your interest in being on the board and for putting in your application. I also would like to, since we did have a resume from Mrs. Stevens, I'd like to, just if you had anything for us, but we have what you submitted.
It may be 4 years older.
Okay.
I've been retired for about 4 years.
Okay. So I'll start with the first question that I asked her, which is, why are you interested in serving on our board?
Well, I had grandkids go through Oxford School District. I do have 2 great-grandkids attending now. So I just would like to get more involved with the community, and that's why I applied for the board position. I wish I would have found out sooner. I would have had everything completed.
Are there any follow-up questions? So I actually do have a follow-up question. So then is my understanding that your interest in serving on the board is a recent one, just a few days,
Yes.
just a few days old? Okay. Second question is, what do you believe is the primary role of a school board member, and how would you ensure your decisions are guided by the best interests of all students?
I think part of the school board is to govern the school district. You have budgets to take care of, you have contracts to take care of, and I'm sure everybody here oversees that. And that's what I think the role of the school board is.
Okay. Any follow-up questions?
Well, since we don't have a resume, could you just give us a brief synopsis of what you've been doing for 40 years and what your job qualities are, please?
Well, I worked for Delaware County Housing Authority for 40 years as a procurement purchasing manager. I took care of all their inventory, vehicles, and took care of their contracts. Contracts would be anything from landscaping to building remodeling, roofing. I did that for 40 years. I was also, to give you a little background, I was involved with the scout troops as a troop committee chairman when my son was a lot younger. He's in his 40s now. And also, I'm into classic cars, so I was involved with the car club, and I was their secretary for 6 years. So I do have some background. Also, with the Housing Authority, I was chairman of the safety committee. So I just think I can bring a lot of my background to the board.
Okay, thank you. Any other follow-up questions? What do you see as the greatest challenges facing public education today, and how about more specifically for the Oxford School District?
I just feel our kids have to get back to the basics with English, math, history. It seems like they're steering away from a lot of the basic learning things that we used to be taught in school. And I think that would probably broaden our kids to learn the things that we had back in school, or what I had. I'm a little older than everybody here, so.
Any follow-up question? Okay. The next question is, school boards are intended to be nonpartisan. How would you work to maintain a nonpartisan, collaborative approach when making decisions on curriculum, policy, or student support services?
Well, I agree that the school board should be nonpartisan. It should stay like that. I don't feel you should bring politics into the boardroom. I've always thought that way.
Okay.
And I vote my conscience, not my Republican and Democrat.
Are there any follow-up questions? Okay, the next question is, what qualities, skills, and experience would you bring to the board?
Well, just some that we talked about on my resume is I have a contract background. contract writing background. Although we've seen some big projects, I'm sure our schools need some updating, and I think I could bring the background to the board just to oversee some of these projects, or help oversee some of the projects.
Are there any follow-up questions? Okay. Is there anything else you want us to know that about you that has not been covered in the materials you provided or tonight's interview?
No, I think we've got everything covered. I just want to say, I'd like to thank the board for taking the time to hear me. I'm sorry I got a late start on this, but thanks for hearing my case.
Any follow-up? And then there's one last question. If elected to the board, how would you learn the functions of the board? How would you learn the roles of a board member?
I would hope that the board would follow up with a lot of the past agendas. I did read through some of that the last couple days to see what was on the agenda and what was in the meeting minutes. So that's how I would proceed to learn more.
Are there any follow-up questions from the board?
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to accept a motion for the nominations to close.
Motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I, at this time, would like to call for a vote on, regarding the nominated members of the Oxford Area Board of School Directors. Mr. Cooney, I'm assuming you're gonna handle this?
Can I have a minute to solve caucus here?
Yeah, discussion.
Yep, we can have discussion. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Self-caucus.
Self-caucus. Go ahead. So, I'm sorry. Yeah. In other words, how you vote for one does not affect how you vote for the second one. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Cooney?
Is it that?
Yeah, but I think
Oh.
it's the
Sorry.
maybe that one.
Yeah, my sheet is just a little out of order, so.
I
Okay.
know that feeling.
Nominee, Kristen Stevens. I'm sorry, Christina Stevens. I wrote their initials instead. All right, so, Ms. Vendrick,
Yes.
Ms. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Blessington,
No.
Ms. Dean absent, Ms. DeWeese,
Yes.
Ms. Case,
No.
Mr. Kloss.
Yes.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2.
Okay, can we have a call for the next one? Ray Doherty?
Nominee Ray Doherty. Steen absent, Mr. Blessington,
Yes.
Ms. Case,
Yes.
Ms. Vendrick,
No.
Mr. Kloss,
Yes.
Mr. Atkinson,
No.
Ms. Warren,
No.
Ms. DeWeese.
Yes.
Okay. And we have 4-3.
Did I vote yes?
Yes.
We did.
I didn't mean to, but that's okay. It's still, I did not mean to do that. It's
Both
okay.
essentially.
It's
So
fine.
it passed. So we need to vote again?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I, by road.
We'll hold the vote again, starting with Ms.
Because they both passed.
Yes, it's a majority, so they both passed.
You need majority.
I just need. They both passed.
No.
We have to keep going.
We have 7 here, they both passed. fine too. We both
Okay.
passed.
That was my mistake. I honestly, I meant to say no and I said yes, but we can vote
No,
again.
5-2-4-3.
No, it's not. Both majorities.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Three's not a majority?
I said the wrong
We're gonna
thing.
do roll call again. Mr. Cooney, for
Sure.
both candidates, please.
Oh.
Christina Stevens, nominate. Mr. Blessington?
Yeah, what's the, we voting on? We voting on Doherty or?
No, so we're on Christina Stevens.
Christina, it's still no.
Ms. Case?
No.
Ms. Vendrick?
Yes.
Mr. Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Atkinson?
Yes.
Ms. Warren?
Yes.
Ms. DeWeese?
Yes.
Ms. Dean's absent. Yes, once again, 5-2. Now, nominee Ray Doherty. Ms. Case?
Yes.
Ms. Vendrick?
No.
Mr. Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Atkinson?
No.
Ms. Warren?
No.
Ms. DeWeese?
No.
He's not here. Blessington?
Yes.
4-3. Motion does not carry. Nominee,
Appoints Christina Stevens as member of the Oxford Area Board of School Directors effective October 7th. Okay, any discussion?
On, we're not voting on this, you're just announcing it.
That was just the vote to go through. Now you're actually appointing the members. You're appointing the one that came through.
Well said.
If you want.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, so at this point, Judge Massey had to leave. He's been gone for quite some time.
Oh, he does this one again.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering.
I was wondering what the connection was.
So Judge Massey had to leave, and the oath of office is with Judge Massey. He is requesting that you make an appointment between 10 and 12 tomorrow. If you can do that, if not, to call the office and make a appointment for some other time where he will swear you in. He apologizes that he had to leave the meeting. And you know where the magisterial, okay, very good.